Welcome again to the Waiver Wire show. We are heading into week 13. I am back after a brief trip to Cancun during the Thanksgiving break. Kevin, you ran the show. This has been, I'd like to think, a valuable addition to our listeners, to our viewers.
Unbelievable and valuable for us, Brian. I mean, dude, what better way to figure out who to pick up on the waiver wire than what your smartest fantasy analyst friend has to say about it? You know, it's worked well for me. I can say that much.
And it's nice to reference for the league that we're in certain comments each other makes, and we go to pick, and so it's been nice to track that. But
very competitive league. I'm having a lot of fun.
That is correct. We do have a sponsor. We are presented by Cut, the social betting platform, KUTT. So you're going to hear a little bit more about them later. But if this is your first time watching, listening, this is how we do it. We go straight to the point. Our top 10 list. We'll go through my personal top 10 waiver list, regardless of position. Kevin will then go against whether he agrees, disagrees. The past few weeks, there's actually been a lot of
variance.
A lot of variance.
I like
it. Nice.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be.
Because if we're just in, like, we're giving them more content, right? We're giving the people more information and data to hopefully go and win their leagues.
And we've both had some remarkable shot calls this year. So let's just keep it rolling. Let's win some people some championships, McFadden. Let's do it.
Okay, so on that note, let me go ahead. I got the graphic ready this week. So we're going to go ahead and reveal La Reveal Magnifico. Boom. Nope. Boom. Once again, wrong.
It's always the same one.
Tyler Murray. It is
every time. I'm always like, huh.
I had it preloaded and it didn't work. So let's go secretive again.
We'll say hello to Armand in the chat while you pull that up. The GOAT.
There you go. There you go.
Always got to throw love his way.
Where is the
Happy to see you, buddy.
I think I know where it is. Do you want to quickly share any thoughts on your bills?
You know what? Yeah. Oh, thanks for doing that to me. Yeah.
Tee you up with that.
If anybody who can't tell, I'm wearing my Knicks jersey today. It's basketball season. I don't know anything about football right now. No. Yeah. Tough season for Bills fans. We're struggling for sure.
All right. Let's take two on this.
Take two.
Boom.
That's the one right there.
That is the one. This is week 13. Let's go ahead and jump right into it right off the bat. A couple, I'd like to think, possible league winners in week 13, which is insane. And it all starts with number one. And there's some important news on why this is number one. I got to think you have Zach Moss.
Consensus.
Well. I mean,
Consensus
come on.
One.
If you had a discrepancy here, we'd have a big issue with me. I'd start doubting your fantasy credentials.
No, sir.
I mean, so Zach Moss, top 10 running back for the first 5 weeks when Jonathan Taylor was out, and actually showed a little bit of production while he was in, at least for the first few weeks. Well, what's the news that we got? Oh, Jonathan Taylor is out again. Will have surgery on his thumb. Jim Irsay seems to think it's 2 weeks. They haven't ruled out IR. It doesn't matter if it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Zach Moss is RB1 in Indy again. And if he's on your waiver wire, just literally spend the rest of your FOB.
Empty the clip. Yeah, that's 100% the correct analysis. Was a league winner in terms of how he sets you up in the early portion of the season. Hopefully you held the bag. I was a Zach Moss beneficiary, and I did not hold the bag. I did move on from him a handful of weeks ago. So definitely regret that a little bit. Process over results, right? But Zach Moss, potential league winner for sure. Number one consensus pickup this week. Gotta go get him.
And in a similar fashion, this was in a dynasty league, so Zach Moss obviously is not available on waivers. But I traded for Jonathan Taylor back when he was still on injured reserve or the pup list to start the season, and I had offers for Zach Moss as well, and it was a little rich, so I said no. I'm like, I don't want his backup. I kind of wish I had him now because the guy's going to be like raking me over the coals right now, and it's a league where I am like third place. I've already clinched a playoff spot. I'm right at the verge of a bye, so I kind of need to pay the price.
Yeah, losing JT hurts big. JT owners, everybody listening to the show who has JT, Zach Moss should be priority number one. But listen up, there's a lot of running backs this week. This is not a bad week to need a running back. So
that's true. We do have a number on this here very list. So let's go ahead and keep it rolling on to number two. I can't remember. Did you have him on? I think you had Freiermuth last week. I think you had him on your. I did not. So I'm glad that he is now number two. Pat Freiermuth, number two. All he did in his first week back from injured reserve with a new offensive coordinator, which I do think is the reason I have him so high.
Yeah.
9 receptions on 11 targets for 120 yards. Is he your number 2 as well?
He is my number 4. And he's a great pickup. Positional value is the only reason he skirted down my list a little bit, but
But here's the opposite though. On the same note as positional value, why I have him number 2 is a few things. One, obviously he produced. 2, he produced in what is essentially a new offense. Think of it as week 1. Think of it
yeah,
as new data. Just the fact that it's a little bit less likely to be an outlier if this is Eddie Faulkner and Matt Sullivan. They're kind of co-calling plays, whatever. They come
yeah,
out with this offense. They utilize the middle of the field more than they've used all season for the Steelers. First 400-yard game. I know it's all over the news, but we'll say it too. First 400-yard game in the for
right.
the Steelers in like 5 seasons.
Unbelievable.
400 total yards game. So the fact that Freiermuth was a centerpiece of that, I don't think it's a fluke.
Yeah.
And you talk about positional value. How about positional scarcity? There are so few tight ends that put up these kind of numbers. If he's going to be a focal point of this offense and he is on your waiver wire and you're this late in the season, if you don't have Zach Moss, I might empty the clip for Pat Freiermuth because he could be so much better than all the others, non-Kelsey, non-Hawkinsons. And Mark Andrews is on IR. So that's why I have him number 2.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I love Pat Freiermuth. I just went out and gave up a third in our dyno for him, confidently and proudly before his breakout. So now a third looks like I got him for a steal.
You did get him for a steal in Dynasty.
Yeah, it's a big time steal. So I love it. I have no issue there. I went with Brandon Cooks at number 2. I don't even see him on your list, Brian.
I don't have him. I didn't have him on my eligible.
Oh,
he was not in my list of
okay,
eligibles.
He was less than 50%. What's our threshold?
Well, where did you check?
Well, Yahoo.
Okay, so I checked Fantasy Pros because it's a ECR, it's a consensus. And so they keep it under 55%, but he was not on there for a consensus.
We'll go over Brandon Cooks for the sake of anybody who
you already have him on the list. We might as well go.
I gotta throw love his way. Because I'm pretty sure you had him on your list a couple weeks ago.
I did
before the breakout. So shout out to McFadden. Yeah. So shout out to McFadden for that. Brandon Cooks is an unbelievable pickup. Dak Prescott loves him. The Cowboys are airing it out. Kellen Moore, things are finally. I do. I miss the days of Dak Prescott being bemoaned and being hated on because he's top 3 now. I don't really think you can say anything else. He's locked in this season for sure for fantasy football.
One thing I'll say, it's been some weak defenses, but it helps.
It helps.
He's going to have bigger tests coming,
Brian.
This is true. This is absolutely true, and he has looked fantastic against those teams. Let's keep it rolling. We talked about running backs earlier. There are a number of them on this list. This guy was on my list 2 weeks ago, but I still think he's worth a pickup if you have the spot, and it's definitely if you need running back help, and that's Ty Chandler out of Minnesota. I know we didn't get anything out of him on Monday night, but nobody in that Minnesota offense produced. So I'm going to throw that out the window. I'm going to go back to week 10 in Atlanta where he had 44% of the running back snaps. He is just a more explosive runner than Madison. We've seen it even in the few touches that he got on Monday night. They're involving him in the pass game. I don't think you're going to get games like that again where Minnesota 4 picks and a number of them were intercepted. It was a fluky game. So don't get scared off Ty Chandler. The one thing I will say, and there's a few players here that hit this, and that he is on bye week 13, which could mean you can get him pretty cheap because a lot of people they're only looking at projected for week 13.
Yeah. I think him being on bye kept him from my top 8. I have him at number 9, just based solely on the fact that, you are missing the game. If you need a playoff push, he's not your guy. But he could be somebody who helps you in the playoffs. I do worry a little bit about Madison's resurgence.
Surgeons. I don't know that he's
looked pretty sharp lately. So, I do worry a little bit that he could keep Chandler off the field, but he's good enough to be on my list at number 9. So I don't have any issue with you going out and, 10 to 15% of your FOB just to sort of speculate a little bit,
I might try less because he's on bye. I think you're going to get less bidders overall because a lot of people, they go to the free agent list, they'll go to the projected points. And if somebody's on bye, they won't even show up on that because they're projected for 0.
Yeah, you might be able to sneak them onto your roster. My number 3, Brian, is Roschon Johnson, your number 7. And we'll talk about him when we get to number 7, but I'll let you continue on with your list.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk to Roshan Johnson. I will say the reason I don't have him higher, Bears.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
There's a number of guys on this list. We're going to talk about Demario Douglas.
Yep.
It's their offense that they're on,
hmm
and
hmm
Elijah Moore. If you look at the volume, you know what? Let's go right down. Number 4, Elijah
Elijah
Moore.
Moore.
This is a guy who has 23 targets over the last 3 games, and by the way, that's been with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, now his status is in doubt after suffering an injury against the Broncos. Guy's getting targeted so many times, but it's the Browns offense.
Right.
Who's playing?
Third
Joe
string
Flacco.
QB.
Joe
Yeah.
Flacco is going to be playing
Fourth string.
quarterback.
Yeah.
So
It's not great.
that's my problem with the number of the guys on this list,
Sure.
and honestly, probably why they're still free agents and are on the waiver wire, because they're just in bad offenses. Although they're talented and they're
Yeah.
getting opportunity, I feel like they're worth a flyer if you have the space.
I do think Moore definitely is a great flyer, definitely a sneaky pickup at this point. I just worry about the floor. I feel like the floor is a crater, and I feel like at this stage of the season that's difficult. So he's not on my list, but again, the talent and the ceiling and the lottery ticket
He got
potential
9
is
targets.
yeah.
It's like he's getting so many targets. Like it's
At
got
a
to turn
certain
into
point,
something, right?
at a certain point, right, you do have to kind of the numbers are what they are. You can't skew it just because of how you feel, right? But
True.
I feel like Moore is scary. I will be honest, but
Yeah.
I'm not at all mad at the.
Well, he's also been getting targeted like that a lot. I mean, it's ticked up, but he hasn't done much all season. So we
Yeah,
have enough data on this point to say that
sure.
more is not going to be much.
I like your number 5 pick a lot. He's not on my list for the first time all season. He's been a
Ah,
staple of my list.
yeah.
It's not even that I don't want him here. It's almost like Tyjae Spears. I could bemoan it and I could continue to, tell everybody to pick them up. But if they've been
Notice
listening to
Spears
the
is
show,
finally off my list.
I was gonna
I
say
had to. I had to. It's like
we're at that point now.
Yeah.
It's lottery ticket season for backup running backs. But I love number 5 on your list, Pop Douglas. I've been talking about him for weeks. And I would like to hear why you have him so high on your list, because I'm thankful that you're seeing the light, it seems.
Well, no, it's the same. It's basically going to read off almost exactly like Elijah Moore. Another game, another 9 targets, 6 receptions for 49 yards, averaging 8 targets over the last 4 games. 8 targets.
Crazy high floor.
But he
Crazy
still
high
plays
floor.
on the Patriots.
Right.
He either has Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, or I guess Will Grier.
Yikes.
They just brought him back throwing, and there's just this whole offense, this whole team is broken in New England. They couldn't
So
beat the
bad.
Giants. They couldn't score more than 7 on the Giants. Their rookie kicker missed a 35-yard field goal.
Unbelievable.
So, but I love the talent. Once again, I love the talent and I love the opportunity.
I definitely think Pop Douglas with a great quarterback could produce like Cole Beasley used to.
Yeah.
Really, really like his slot prowess. Big fan of his. So glad he's on your list, Brian.
Who do you have at number 5?
Number 5, I have Keaton Mitchell, who I don't see on your list either.
Didn't qualify. He would have
Look
been
at us.
very high.
I got to get on that Fantasy Pros thing, man. I'm using just Yahoo. I'm just using Yahoo roster percentages, but yeah, he's a great player and he is finally getting some more utilization. There was a scary game, the one against Cincy. It kind of looked like he might be phased out or in a smaller ancillary role, but I definitely think Keaton Mitchell is worth a pickup at this point. Again,
100%. I mean,
might not qualify based on.
He would have been above. He would probably been number 3 behind Freiermuth for me if he was actually eligible on the list that I was using.
Yeah, exactly. Right behind Freiermuth for me on my list as well. So we are on the same page there, sir. Isaiah Likely, though. Love that pick.
Before we get to that, I have a question for you, Kev.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever find it hard to keep up with all the different bets you've made against your friends? Do you like to make bets?
All the time. Yeah. Man. It's so hard to keep up with, for sure.
Who's paid, who hasn't, what were the terms, etc. Right? Well, we've partnered with this cool new app called Cut that formalizes the whole process so that you don't have to check the notes on your phone or scroll endlessly through your group chat. It's essentially a better version of Venmo, but for betting.
Wow.
Want to hear more?
Of course.
Of course. Well, good, because I'm going to tell you anyway.
Please.
With a bunch of social features that make it like a betting social network. Cut tracks all your bets, allows you to create your own terms, introduces you to other fans, and perhaps most importantly, Kevin, ensures that you're paid when you win. All right. They can't renege. Right. There's no way. The system controls that. All your friends, you ever have a friend make a bet, but then I'll pay you next week. And then
unfortunately, yes, I hate that.
Yeah, well, Cut takes care of that for you. They also give you cash back on every single bet you make on their platform. Just go check them out at cut.com. That's KUTT.com, or on Instagram at cutbet.
Hey, Brian, you think you could finish up the rest of the show yourself? I think I might have to go do some downloading over here, man. I might
you,
have
you,
some
you
work.
got you got some degenerates to
I,
collect
I
from.
think I might have some activities that I got to get into tonight. That sounds awesome. Cut sounds like a great product.
Yeah, we have partnered with them for the remainder of the NFL season. We're looking forward to some extended and creative partnership with them even beyond the season. So stay tuned for that. All
Love
right, you
that.
talked a little bit about my number 6, Isaiah Likely. Considered putting him a little higher.
Yeah.
Uh, Positional value on this without maybe the upside of Fryermuth is probably why I kept him below some of these other guys.
Hmm.
But how about 4 receptions on 6 targets for 40 yards in the first game after Andrews on IR. So we saw, if you remember, he was the preseason darling 2 seasons ago,
Oh yeah.
where he was just racking up. He's got the talent. He's
Right.
going to get the opportunity as the tight end 1 in an offense that likes to feature the tight end. He is no Mark Andrews,
Yeah.
but if you need tight end, and chances are you need tight end unless you're like one of 3 or 4 teams, you could
Yeah.
do worse than Isaiah Likely here.
For sure. I got him down at 10 on my list just because I do like him a lot and I like his opportunity. The reason he's so low on my list is because of the exact reason that you said. It kind of feels like we've done this dance before. I was one of the many people who put on their clown makeup in week 1 when Mark Andrews was ruled out and started Isaiah Likely for the Goose. He came in as well against Cincy and got 0 targets. So I was a little nervous then. Now
At
this is
least
a
you
full
saw him
week.
get utilized
The
this
full
time.
week of
Right.
preparation,
Yeah.
full week of game
Game plan.
planning and all that. So there is some promise for sure. But I got Likely scars myself. I still like the player. I like the talent. He flashed in that Sunday night game. He had a couple nice plays, broke some
Yeah.
tackles. And the talent is, what's there not to like about the talent? And the opportunity, same thing. It's just, the song and dance. But he's good enough to be on my list, number 6 on your list. You're not saying, empty the clip on Likely,
Right.
but it's totally worth a speculative ad for sure.
Another one of these who, let's say he is on bye in week 13. There is 6 teams on buys. It's like another bye apocalypse so late in the season.
Disgusting.
It
Yeah,
is
what's
disgusting.
up with the schedule makers? My Bills.
It's not. Do
Come
you know
on.
that it's made by AI now, right? Like
Oh, it's so
the
bad.
Amazon whatever, they make the
Stop
schedules.
AI right now.
Yeah, there was a few weeks ago where there was no one on bye,
Yeah.
and now we have like
Well,
6.
and just to imagine, think about this. Imagine how many fantasy relevant players there are on bye. Like, I mean, just from the Bills alone. You know what I mean? I'm a homer. So I have Josh, Diggs,
Mhm.
Gabe, Cook, defense, Bass, every single league. I'm screwed because of this week 13. Yeah. And then there's 6 other teams. The Bears, no Justin Fields, no DJ Moore. None.
Vikings, TJ Hawkinson, tight end
Insane.
1 right now.
Yeah, not cool. Not
Jordan
nice.
Addison showing up.
Not cool.
Well, let's keep on rolling. Who do you have at the 6th spot?
My number 6 is Jeff Wilson, who's not on your list either. I'm sure he qualifies.
He does qualify, but I don't think that's so.
Let's talk about it. What's your Wilson hesitancy?
I'm
Okay.
like, pronounce it right. Achan.
Achan, right?
He asked us to say it right. So
You got it, you
Achan
got it.
he was healthy enough to play against the Jets. Mike McDaniel just said on a short week, there was no need
You
to.
believe that though?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
I don't.
Because he wanted to go back in the game where he re-injured 2 weeks ago. And they just like, no, we're not risking it. And Mike McDaniel has shown to be overly cautious when it comes to injuries. So I don't think his knee injury was so drastically re-injured that he couldn't go back in the previous game. I think he was ready, and he had been practicing to play in the Jets game. I think he will be back in this game. You've still got Raheem Mostert, who's contrary to your thoughts, has stayed healthy all season.
Oh yeah,
and
exactly.
Produced
I did not think
week in and week out.
Yeah.
So yeah, once you get down into the Jeff Wilson stage, it's like I just
felt like watching that game, he had some pop and he was getting utilization. And that's what I'm really looking for. That's a great offense to have.
And if Achan is back, the utilization portion goes away, I think.
It's possible. I mean, the week prior we saw Ahmed getting utilized, I mean, I think that Mike McDaniel is very comfortable having 3-headed monsters at running backs, and usually I stay away from those, but Miami's different because they've proven to be able to utilize multiple backs. So as long as As long as Jeff is active on game day, I think he'll get some touches. Maybe not fantasy worthy just yet. I probably wouldn't risk starting him until we saw a little bit of a buildup, but he did look pretty darn good against the Jets, in my opinion, and he did have some nice utilization. Achan's health has been in question at multiple points of this season, in the preseason, 2 separate points during this season. So even just to have as a stash or insurance, I don't hate the Jeff pickup this week.
Yeah, I'm worried that he's not going to get much utilization. And you are now in week 13. Most leagues only have 2 more weeks before the playoffs start.
Right.
So are you really going to get a chance? Who are you going to start Jeff Wilson over? Maybe in a deeper league, I would
Depends.
consider it.
It depends on the health of Mostert and Achan for sure.
Well, Mostert has stayed healthy, and Achan, I believe, is going to be healthy and playing and get a full load.
I hope
in
so.
week 13.
I like the guy a lot.
Against a very lovely Washington Commanders.
Yeah, good matchup.
You mentioned him earlier. Let's go ahead and jump into number 7, Roschon Johnson. 15 touches in week 12, including 5 receptions on 5 targets. And an otherwise dismal Bears output outside of DJ Moore. Seeing Roschon be the lead back was kind of nice. And so, same thing we mentioned earlier. We already mentioned with Elijah Moore. The reason he's at 7 is a couple things. One, he is also on bye. Yet another guy on this list that's on bye. So it's hard to put a guy really high who's on bye. And 2, he plays for the Bears. But if he wasn't on bye, I'd have him above Elijah Moore and Pop Douglas. I'd probably have him maybe in the 4 spot.
I was going to say, I had him that high because eye test, man. Watching that game, he jumped off the tape, in my opinion. I think Roschon Johnson looks like the best back in Chicago. I think he's going to usurp Khalil Herbert's role. And I think he's going to be the RB1 for the rest of the season. And I think that could be a very promising role in an offense that is desperate for a spark. We saw, 4 total passes from Fields past the line of scrimmage. That's a running back that I want, is a guy who's going to be catching screens, a guy who's going to be getting draws, sweeps, counters, this, that, and the other. I think he looked good. He was, reading his blocks correctly, hitting the hole properly, had some juice. I'm all in on Roschon this week. I'd do 20% of what your remaining fab on Roschon this week for sure.
Even though he's on bye. So if you're trying to get a playoff spot, you're only going to get it for 1 week.
That's the part.
That's why I had him at 7 specifically was the bye. The Bears offense a little bit, but really because you're not going to have him available in one of the 2 remaining weeks in your
similar to Chandler, which is tough. It hurts both ways, but it's true. They're the 2. Other than Zach Moss, they're the 2 best running back pickups this week for sure.
Right. Speaking of another running back, well, before I get to number 8, who do you have at number 7? Have we said them yet?
Number 7 is I have Pirine. Samaje Pirine. I like his opportunities. I think he'll be an interesting pickup rest of the way. I think he'll definitely get opportunities for sure.
I think Javonte Williams has been the dog in that offense. A lot of the reason Pirine is on people's lists is because he scored. I don't have him obviously on my top 10 list. And I'm a little salty that Jaleel McLaughlin, my boy, is not getting those touches.
I feel sorry for you. Yeah, that is your boy. That Brian's got many champions, but Jaleel McLaughlin is one he's been toting for a long time. So credit where it's due. He does have juice and he does look good, but Pirine is getting the work.
So, he is. So fair. I can't question having him on this list, but I think that out of spite, I'm like, no, I'm not going to.
I respect it. And we're kind of we talked about earlier, we're kind of in lottery ticket territory where I'm not going to say a ton of these names. Most of the rest of the names on my list, we've already covered. So a lot of the ones are new. A lot of the names on your list are the new names, but it doesn't hurt to pick up guys' backups. Elijah Mitchell's not a bad pickup this week. Tyjae Spears is not a bad pickup. Having a guy who could
who had Zach Moss,
right? Literally,
very
go out there and grab a guy who could win you a league if somebody tragically gets hurt. Knock on wood. Don't hope for the injuries, but if they happen, be prepared.
All right, let's go. Speaking of backups, but backups getting use. Number 8, Rico Dowdle. 10 plus touches or a touchdown in 3 straight games. He is the Tony Pollard to Tony Pollard, it seems.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't have any addition. Do you have any additional context on Rico?
I like Rico Dowdle a lot. I think the big thing is game script. If the Cowboys are up big and they're blowing teams out, we've seen him get huge, massive opportunities late in games. So I think that's going to depend on their game scripts. You me and Demon have talked about how the Cowboys don't like to just beat teams. They like to embarrass teams. And I think that that's good for a player like Dowdle, because I think that means when the foot is on the gas and they're inside the 15, 20, they will still be trying to punch it in. And Dowdle is proving that he can do that. So I definitely, and also same thing we talked about with Tony Pollard and the health and the opportunities. If, knock on wood, Tony Pollard does go down, Dowdle could be a league winner for sure. He's got the talent.
Agreed. Do you have anybody at 8, 9, and 10 that we haven't talked about yet, or should I just go down
On my 8, 9, and 10? So 9 and 10 are Chandler and Likely. We talked about them. My number 8 is Curtis Samuel. Loving the opportunities he's getting in the Commanders' offense. We're finally seeing some consistency.
So many to go around though. So he had a great week.
Yes.
But this has been his only good week really all season.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin's still healthy. Jahan Dotson's still healthy. Logan Thomas is still healthy. Brian Robinson has been catching passes. So that was why I didn't put Samuel on my list.
That is the biggest holdup with Samuel, is that there are so many mouths to feed. And it's not like Sam Howell. Look, the yards are going around, the catches are going around, but touchdowns have been a little scarce. And trust me, dude, I own Terry in every single league. And the inconsistency of Washington pass catchers has been crippling, to say the least, from a fantasy perspective. I'm the Dodson owner in our Dino. That deal I passed up on a couple weeks ago was looking real good, Brian, if it's still on the table. I'm just saying.
It is not.
But I had a feeling.
I've got Amon-Ra since then. So.
Yeah, I know, you freaking guy. But it's not a bad dart throw. Definitely like a desperation boom bust flex play for sure.
All right, let's go through the rest of my list then. Couple of Packers here. Number 9, Jaden Reed. I actually considered putting him a little higher. He's another one that has other mouths to feed, especially with Christian Watson looking like he's finally doing something.
Stepping up a little bit.
But so 4 receptions on 8 targets in week 12. Also 2 rushes for 16 yards and a touchdown. So they're utilizing him in multiple ways. And here's what I like. His targets have increased in 4 straight weeks. So every week over the past 4 weeks, they have given him more and more opportunities. I don't think that's on accident. It has also coincided with the Packers playing well, with Jordan Love playing some of his best football. And speaking of Jordan Love, I'm going to go right into number 10.
Yep.
And speak about Mr. Love itself. I hope that Demon listens to this episode or watches
100%.
this. I think he's finally, maybe not coming around, but being beat down enough by the fact that Jordan Love is playing really, really good football. He was QB5 in week 12, Kev.
Oh, here we go.
QB12 or better in 3 straight weeks, and it's been better each week. QB12 3 weeks ago. Oh, he's in the chat. I didn't even know he was here.
I love it.
Look at that, right on cue. It's like we planned it, but I swear we did not plan to have
no,
him.
100%. I love it. And it's a great pickup. 100%, Brian. I couldn't agree with you more. I grabbed him early in a couple of leagues because I kind of saw this coming. I'll ask you, do you have confidence in him against Kansas City this week?
I'm curious to see what he does. I'll say that. Like, this is a big test.
I got him in a league, and I'm between him and Geno, but Geno plays Dallas, and I'm like, man.
Well, between those two, Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Jordan Love. So
yeah,
great call. Yeah, I love the stack there of Love and Reed, McFadden to close out the list. I think that's an absolutely bang up job on the 10 there.
I even have my last note under Love is big test in week 13 versus KC. So
huge.
I think even Demon, if he plays well against Kansas City, even in a losing effort, I think we've seen the evolution of Jordan Love to a point where he may not be an elite quarterback, but he could be the quarterback of the future for Green Bay.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Brian. And thank you for the vote of competence, competence, also competence too.
Competence.
Thank you for
Why not?
Right. It's both. Thank you for the vote of confidence, because I'm going to start Jordan Love now. And if he loses me my matchup, I can just blame you. That's perfect.
I'm happy to take the blame. I do have a flyer or an honorable mention. I don't know if you have one. How about a little Jalen Hyatt action? Yep. Like, I'm not advocating for anybody to spend any type of fob on this guy, but 5 receptions on 6 targets for 109 yards in week 12.
Yeah.
We've only started to see Tommy DeVito. Like, maybe they've got a connection. There's not a whole lot of other. We talk about mouths to feed. It's the opposite problem in New York. Why can't a guy like Jalen Hyatt? He's talented. If you've got the roster space and you have some fob, or you want to throw a $1 bid on, why not?
I really like the Hyatt pickup. I love the talent. He was so unbelievable at Tennessee. And now that he's getting targets, and like you said, him and DeVito have a connection, the Giants might have a real backup QB in DeVito. When I first watched him, I thought, this guy, he is going to get, he's going to get laughed off the field. He looks all right. He looks like a decent backup quarterback.
He could be setting himself up for a nice future in the NFL, which is a
Definitely.
lot. All that a lot of
Holding
these guys can never
clipboards,
hope for.
you
Yeah,
know, got your hands
make
on
some
your
bank
shoulder
is.
pads. I always
Yeah,
thought quarterbacks looked so cool when they did this. You ever notice that? How cool they looked?
I've noticed it. I don't know that I've referenced
Standing
the
on the
cool
sidelines,
factor.
backwards hat like this, like that's Tommy DeVito's future, I think. And I think that's
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Hey, I'll have somebody pay me a couple mil a year to just stand here.
You want to do it? You want to go
Yeah,
apply, you and me?
let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's do it. There's a number of NFL teams that
Yeah, that could
I
use
can't be that
us.
much worse.
Yeah,
than the guys
exactly.
that are on there.
For
All
sure.
right, Kev, that wraps it up for the Waiver Wire show in week 13. I hope that we have given you enough helpful information. We are getting closer and closer to fantasy playoff time. So these waiver wire pickups could literally be, we always talk about league winners.
Yeah.
This is the time when that actually happens.
It matters so much right now.
Kev, any last words for everybody before we wrap up the show?
I just want to thank the good people for listening. I want to thank the chat for not roasting me about the Bills, including the fact that Demon's here. That's really big of him.
Well,
And
you're like queuing them up now.
I know I am kind of setting him up, but I want to thank you all, and I want to thank you, McFadden, for another great week, man. Thanks for helping me out with the Jordan Love decision, man. You made my life easier.
That's really why you do this show with me, so that I can give you
100%.
insight and analysis that you can use against me in our Dynasty League.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Demon, every Thursday on this channel and on the Pro Football Demon channel, fantasy Q&A show with Mr. Phillip Fox, myself, and Rich Jodice, the Pro Football Demon. We spend an hour just answering all your fantasy questions. It's a lot of fun. Rich in the chat, I would if the Jets had an offense.
It's fair. It's very fair.
He understands where
Look
he's
at
at.
us.
Against all odds, it looks like my Dolphins are going to win the AFC East.
Congrats, man. I'm happy for you.
Thank you, everybody. Make sure to check out Legit Football. Check out KUTT.com and CutBet on Instagram. You're going to be hearing a lot more about our partnership with them throughout the season. Kev, good luck this week. You don't play me,
too.
so I'm fine with you winning.
Right. Yep.
Good luck on all your waiver wire bids, and we will see